I tried to go into Deathloop as blind as possible, only glancing at trailers in the middle of conferences and avoiding everything else. I suggest you do the same.
Can you fucking shoot already? I'm trying to get high over here. Fuck me up. No! No! Are you kidding me? That was incredible!
Still watching? If so, I won't give away too much. Groundhog Day with 2 assassins by way of Arkane sums up the premise of Deathloop, which is enough to entice a large chunk of people, especially Dishonored and Prey fans. For one, personality is not a problem in Deathloop. Colt, your avatar in the main event of this time-looping mess, is more interesting than the entire cast of most modern AAA games. The banter between him and Juliana, his rival, is glorious, and manages to rise above the typical edgy dialogue of a lot of shooters by actually making you laugh out loud.
Hey, all aboard, sweetie. Choo-choo.
I said Colt, show, not Colt. Fuck it. Next stop, security office. Choo-choo.
The 60s to torn fashion sense help bring out that personality more, especially with all that marvelous wood-based interior design. Nothing better than techie sci-fi clashing with wood. Deathloop's primary weapon is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. The game highly encourages experimentation, loadout swapping, and exploration, and makes all of that very easy. The way the core loop, as it were, works is that you have an ultimate end goal in mind, but an unlimited amount of time to figure out how to do it. Days are broken up by morning, afternoon, and evening periods, all of which feature different environmental changes in 4 areas, connected by central tunnels which you start and end every period in, and have key NPCs, visionaries which are basically bosses, in different spots. During all this, Juliana can randomly pop in as an extra encounter, both as an AI or as another player. Loadouts initially are tenuous at best. You can't keep all your gear between loops, but very early you discover a mechanic that lets you pump what is essentially leveling currency into keeping items permanently. While a lot of games would make this process deliberately obtuse and annoying, I had what I consider an ideal personal loadout in a little over an hour of playtime. From there, it was mainly tweaking and adding extra flair for specific encounters, sneaking around versus head-on fighting / boss battles, etc. It's a very, very chill game with a lot going on, which is a feat to balance both so well. In case you're worried, it doesn't feel anything like a roguelite or a roguelite. The time loop gimmick actually serves the player at a foundational level, which really helped me become invested in it. I couldn't stop playing from the time I installed it. Deathloop gets very fun to play very fast because it's willing to get crazy and arcadey. Case in point, I was given a double jump almost immediately and I was off to the races. What are essentially magic powers conducted through relics called slates supercharge everything, providing access to berserker strength, stealth, teleportation, and more. Colt's unique power is that he can die 3 times each day before starting over a loop, essentially providing you with 3 lives, complete with the now classic loot your corpse to regain your currency conceit. Arkane could have gone the gritty route with a grounded Call of Duty style clambering and sliding, which is in, but they plussed it up. Getting these powers is meaningful too, as bosses, which respawn every day, basically poop out materia, which you can then pay to keep permanently. Note, dupe abilities will provide upgrades. Beyond chipping away at the critical path, part of the joy is slowly uncovering the mystery of why you're in the loop. And I'll basically leave it at that. The in-game mission screen is centered around this premise, offering a conspiracy theory style pinboard to help you slowly unravel everything. You can do multiple parts at once depending on the area you're in, or take it bit by bit and start fresh the next day. However you choose to play, the game saves your mission progress / knowledge like passcodes and major revelations, so you don't need to repeat a ton of things over and over until you get it perfectly right, nor do you have to memorize what you were doing. Again, Arkane could have gone so south with a number of roguelike elements they could have crammed in, but it really does play like an action-adventure that just happens to take place in a time loop. All of these mechanics help facilitate cycle-based runs through a selection of 4 sandboxes that are combed through the way you want to. It isn't perfect though. I encountered a few instances of, go here, oh actually now that you're here, you need to come back in the morning, which, is never great. At least I had the opportunity to scour the immediate area, have some fun, head back, keep what I wanted by investing in those items, and then dive back into the zone within a few minutes. Sort of annoying, but ultimately painless. What wasn't as painless was my encounter with several glitches on PS5, all of them menu-based. Sometimes when selecting a loadout, the menu won't load. And on a few occasions, it locked up and didn't let me quit or start a mission. The only solution was to reboot, which let me pick right where I left off due to the autosave system. Your mileage may vary, but I encountered menu lag twice, which which cleared up after about 30 seconds, and soft crashing twice. What I find especially fun though is the post-mission run back. It's a blast to figure out different paths to return to the tunnels before the next time period begins each day, while all hell is breaking loose, and Deathloop entices you to come back under different circumstances to encounter new activities. None of the zones feel bloated. They're packed with just enough to warrant multiple runs without getting old, without providing the sense that they're jammed with Ubisoft open world busywork. At what I would call a medium pace, I finished Deathloop in around 10 hours. After the game ends, you repeat the final day or start over. Part of the genius is that if you want to rush it, you can. If you want to take twice as long, you can do that too. There's a lot of speedrunning potential in Deathloop, and I'm stoked to see what people come up with as the optimal way to solve the game. The other part of Deathloop is playing as Juliana, which has a very 2010s winning multiplayer in this game feel at first, but ends up being a bonus rather than something that detracts from Deathloop as a whole. Your job is to dive into another player's game via matchmaking and take their coal out, similar to invading a game in a Souls joint. It has its own loadout screen and progression system, as well as a few subtle story bits. You can even turn off human invasions and restrict them entirely to AI as Colt. Basically, you can ignore it, but it's also justified. Extra mode or not, the main game is not compromised in any way. Deathloop combines a classic Arkane stealthy shooty foundation with a genuinely interesting and fun premise to aplomb. This is going to be on a lot of Game of the Year lists. But for even more written reviews, news, and more, be sure to head on over to Destructoid.com, and thank you for watching.